Sophie and welcome back to the Be Nerdy BookTube channel, and today I'm giving you my August wrap-up. Now, you may be thinking, Soph, why the hell are we in the OG set? You don't film here anymore? And I'm like, you're right. And you are. But some dum-dum, aka me, forgot their camera like 200 kilometers from where I live. So I went to see my dad, and I thought I would take the camera with me to actually take some cute pictures for Instagram and such. But I ended up not taking photographs, and I forgot the camera there. So, not a good choice on my part. Anyway, so in the month of August, I actually read 7 books. I failed my newts. I know, I was supposed to read 9 books, but I didn't. And this all comes together because I had a very strong start and I read a lot. But the last 2 weeks of the month, I read nearly squat. I was working in a summer camp with kids, so when I had to get up really, really early, and this is why there are no vlogs for the last 2 weeks of the month of August, and why I have not uploaded my week 2, and I probably won't. Honestly, I don't think it means anything for me to post it right now, so I may just scrap that. But yeah, so basically, I was working. I was getting up way too early for anyone's sake, and I was getting home late and tired, and I just didn't have any motivation to either read or actually edit. So that ended up in this disaster. So I'm gonna go in order of the prompts that I needed to complete. I'm looking at my bullet journal. If you see me looking down, it's because I have it here. And so I was going for an horror, and for the horror career, I needed an O in Defense Against the Dark Arts, an E in Charms, an E in Potions, an A in Herbology, and an A in Transfiguration. Now, some of these are completed, some of these are not. And there are some books that I was kind of in the middle that I just scrapped midway because I was not interested in the book or because I just didn't want to read it at that time. And that also affected me. I think that I have maybe done way too many readathons in a row, so I'm taking a break in September. But yeah, so going for my Defense Against the Dark books, I actually read one of the few physical books of September, and that is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's Harry Potter. Don't judge me. I read this copy because, well, I have these copies, okay? I have the first and the second in this copy, and then I have the rest right here. But I hadn't read these copies since I had gotten them, and the prompt for the A, which is the prompt that this book fits, is a book that's black under the dust jacket, and voila. So for both the E and the O, I had started both books. I did not finish them. For the E, which is the first book that comes to mind, I initially went with Mythos by Stephen Fry. I think that that book specifically is not supposed to be read like in a row. You should read like a chapter or two any day when you want. Just chill, and not when you're trying to read as many books as possible or as much as you can, which is what a readathon is all about. So I think that choice was made very poorly. I did reach about 20% of it. I think I was like 100 pages in. But yeah, so then I decided to try and randomize a book. And the book that I got was The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I was not in the mood for something depressing. Depressing was me waking up every day at 6 a.m. so I could go to work. That was depressing. I did not need another depressing thing in my time, so I completely scrapped that, and I actually started reading Spellslinger, and I was actually really far ahead. Like 30%, 40%. I remember that I was almost halfway through. But I was working, I did not have time to read it, and I don't know. The story is weird. I'm not getting in the mood. I will try it again, so I scrapped it and I will start from the beginning again. But I think that I won't connect with the story, and that frightens me. For the O book, which was a book by an English author or a set in England, I was supposed to read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I'm about halfway through. It's on my nightstand, and I will keep reading it in September because it's Harry Potter and I freaking love it. Going for charms, I actually got my grade in charms. So the first one was to read a book that you think has a gorgeous cover, and that leads us to the second physical book of this whole thing, and that is Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. I absolutely love these covers. I have the other two right there. And actually, I'm filming this on September 3rd, so Five Dark Fates is out, which means I need to rush and get the ebook, like stat. I still need to read Two Dark Reigns, but I need to get the ebook. I need to know what the hell happens in this world. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's no surprise that I love this series. We're basically following three sisters, Mirabella, Catherine, and Arsinoe. They are in an island called Fenburn, which is a matriarchal island, which means the women rule, and the queen always has triplets, each with their own gift. Now, Mirabella is an elementalist. She can control the elements. Catherine is a poisoner. She can create and consume all the most deadliest poisons in the world. And then there's Arsinoe. She's a naturalist, and she can actually, well, they have a pet familiar and they can control the nature and stuff. Pretty cool. And when they turn 16, they must kill each other for the crown. Last one standing wins. Pretty basic stuff. I absolutely love this. I have read this before. This was a reread. It was in preparation for Five Dark Fates. And, yes, I love it. I know that people say that this book is like, oh, it's so descriptive and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. It is really descriptive and very world building. And you don't see much action until the final part of the book, which is when Beltane starts, which is the ceremony for the 16th year, which means the start of the hunting between the queens. It lasts for a year, okay? When they turn 17, two must be dead, one must be crowned. Basically, that's it. And the Beltane here only starts in the later half of the book. In the first part, you're getting to know the sisters and their foster families and the politics and what little games are being played and everything. And I think that setup is so important for the rest of the series. It's insane because if you didn't have this, you'd get to One Dark Throne, which is book number 2, and you'd be like, well, crap, why is this character acting like this? I don't know. And maybe at a later date you'd find out and you're like, oh, but I wish I would have known this earlier. That's why it's here, okay? It's it. For the E, I actually read a comic. It was read a comic, manga, or graphic novel. I read a webcomic. Very well beloved. And it is Heartstopper. I actually used volume 2 for this prompt, but I could have just as easily used volume 1. I could change them. Anyway, I will refer volume 1 now. And volume 2, I will tell you both. I'm using Heartstopper volume 2 for my E in Charms. And I'm using Heartstopper volume 1 for my A in Transfiguration, which is an LGBTQIA plus representation. So Heartstopper, we're following two boys. And they basically meet. they're assigned like seats together, and they fall in love. Like, one of the boys does not know his sexuality and he's trying to figure it out. The other one is just openly gay. And it's this beautiful love story, and I can't wait for more. I'm following it on Tapas. I will leave the link for the webcomic down below. There are physical copies of this book, yes, but I'm reading it on Tapas. Oh my god, it's so good. It's such a sweet love story, and you get so enamored by the characters because even though they are like characters in a comic and not a novel, so they don't have that much development, they are still so sweet and pure. And yes, I love them. I love them so much. Last book I read was, oh, For the Newts. I have, well, two other books that I read that are not for the Newts, but we'll get to that. Last book that I read for the Newts was Deep Cosmos by Project Kyle. As I said, this was a book that was gifted to me by the author. We were in the same team on the Biblio games, which was Team Hero, and we actually got to talking, and he sent the copy to me like, well, here you go, read it, and if you like it, please share it. I give it a 3 stars, but if I'm being realistic, it's more of a 2.5 stars. And I love Kyle. Kyle is amazing. He is super supportive, and everything that I'm going to tell you now, I have discussed with him, and I have told him in the face, like, look, in this part, I don't like this, it feels like this and that, and actually trying to explain my reasons behind the low grading or the fact that I did like it, but I didn't like it. Basically, we're following Sophie. There's some inconsistencies with the name, and basically she is kidnapped by one of the biggest villains in the galaxy, and his MO is to make pretty women fall in love with him. So far, so good. Basically, he is a torture addict, and he loves seeing people suffer. Well, she's saved by Nerd, which is a super intelligent character, but he is awful at people in general. Just communication, he sucks. You can give him the most difficult equation, and he's like, yep, I'm on it. You put him face to face with a girl? Maybe not. Maybe not. I'll take the problem now, please. Both characters are really well done. Both Sophia and Nur. Sorry, I'm getting sick. They are really well done. I think that Sophia should have been fleshed out more, given her backstory. She has a very heavy backstory. So I think that could have been fleshed out more. Nerd's backstory is pretty good. I really like it. I think there's some things that need tweaking, but the interactions between the two characters are actually my favorite part of the whole book. They are witty and funny, and sometimes there are deep, meaningful conversations, and it's so good to see like two different characters interact in so many different ways. It's just top notch. What I did not like about this book was, first of all, it was not gory enough for me. I think there are, well, in the first part of the book, there are some mentions of inhuman experiments, and I would have liked to know, like, what the hell are you talking about? What inhuman experiments? Please enlighten me. I would have liked to know more about that. I think that, well, he has justified himself, okay? He said that he did not want to cross the barrier towards horror, and I get it. But there's an itch. I can't scratch it because it's in my heart, and I can't just open my heart and like, sadism. It doesn't happen like that, okay? I wish that it would, but it doesn't. Second thing is, the fight scenes They are either way too short, where you're like, bam, bam, and he died. Or you're like, he moved 3 millimeters and he did this and he did that and he did, and then you have a 10-page fight. That happens. And I was like, ugh. Is the fight over? Who won? Who died? For me, there's just this big inconsistency. Like, either you care about the fights or either you don't. Personally, I don't care about the fights that much. I like some action, but I don't like a 5-second fight or a 10-page fight. And third thing that really bothered me is we are introduced to some characters later in the book, and stuff happens, and you are supposed to feel some things for the characters that you just don't have time to. There's a character that he is a big fan of Nerd, and you're supposed to feel love for him. But since you see him for like 2 dialogues in the whole book, and you're like, every time he appears, I get the feeling that you're supposed to love him and that you're supposed to be like, oh, yes, you cutie, go, go, go. And I'm just like, I've known you for 3 pages. Chill. Like, I don't know you at all. And it may have not been intentional, but I think that actually ended up spoiling the book for me a bit, because I do like to connect with the characters. But yeah. So, going for the books that did not count for the Newts, I have Chosen by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. I give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is book number 3 in the House of Night series. This series is, I've described it as chips before, and I'm gonna keep doing it because this is chips. It's addicting. It's not a good series or the most awesome literature you're gonna have in your life. It's not. But it's fun to read, and I think that's why I keep reading them. I also read Untamed, also by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. I gave it a 3 stars because the story is getting a bit ridiculous at this point. I think that what started as a small problem, like, this is a little ice cube, and I put in my glass of water, and my glass of water is fine. It's okay. And then at the end of this book, at the end of book 4, we go from this little ice cube to the effing iceberg that sent Titanic to the bottom of the sea. Like, it's just not proportional growth. You're starting with this. If you want to go for this, you're okay. You want to go for this, and you want to go for the freaking iceberg that sent Titanic away, which was like a first cruise ever. I need to see some build-up, and I think that there was not enough build-up for this big of a catastrophe that is happening. That said, I'm still gonna read it. I'm still finding it enjoyable. It's fun to read. And if I'm way too stressed, it's just cool. So, these were all the books that I read in August. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a comment down below, a like, and click the red button. Please don't mind my voice. I'm really getting sick, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!